What is up, y'all? Hey, everybody. We back for another live show. Man, another great, great conversation. Another real and raw topic. Us against us. We talking about the Black family dynamics. All about that. Okay, well, I'm super excited to get this show kicked off, but you know how it goes. We got to get y'all to share this live. Share this live. Go on, hit the share button. Make sure you share this live. Hit me in the comments. Tell me if you're watching. And then also, I got to give my sponsor a shout out. Got to shout out the sponsor. This one right here, I hope y'all got a sneak peek. A sneak peek of what I showed y'all on my page for those who that happened to me personally. Unbox your potential. I know my little screen is so raggedy. It's raggedy, y'all. Shout out. I need a green screen. Shout out to those out here. Tap in, help your sister out. But yes, let me help y'all see. Give me one moment. Let me pull out all of these different products. It's called a Go Getter box. So shout out again to ABC Consulting LLC. Sis, giving you all of the great services, okay? All of the great services. She has curriculum development, professional development, one-on-one coaching with the twist events. That sounds like something I need to tap into myself, okay? Doula services. Yes, y'all know I love me some doulas. Shout out to her for that one. And this one she let me in on, again, is the Goal Getter box. Goal. Goal. Man, has these coming out quarterly. They come with dope t-shirts like the one I got on, Loading Goals. You see that? Yes, they come with that. They have fire. Let me tell y'all something. This candle, fire. Candle smells like life, okay? Not that Bath and Body stuff. Black businesses, yes, support Black businesses, okay? Fire. And her boxes, I'm so excited to tell y'all about this because I think this is so dope. She partners with other Black businesses to develop these boxes. So some of these products in this box is not all hers. It's other Black businesses in the area. So if you're willing to want to get your stuff out there too and collaborate with her, check her out. Check out Sis. ABC Educational Consulting LLC. I'm finna show y'all her flyer. I'm finna show y'all. There it is. Tap into it. www.aceinmylife.com. That's Sis. Go check her out. Go holler at her. Get y'all some one-on-one coaching. I mean, there's so many great things in this box. It came with a pen, a little journal. She's doing so many different things. Again, she's a certified doula, so she's helping families when they're birthing. She has the coaching, so she can help you ace your life, get your life together. Yes, okay. And also, she develops curriculums. So, Sis is doing it all. And go tap in because she's a Black woman, and we love Black businesses here at the Hood Talks podcast. Okay. Yes. I had to give my girl a shout out because she doing some dope things. Again, rocking her shirts. Look at this. I love this shirt. And it's comfortable, but that's my spiel. Okay. And thank you for sponsoring the Hood Talks podcast, Sis. I appreciate it. So now let's get into this show. Another great dope segment. Another great conversation. Y'all, I am super excited and ready to get this kicked off because I know this conversation is going to be a good one because we got some dope people on this panel. So let's kick our show off like we're going to do every time. up, everybody? Look, I gotta look, y'all. This is like the most people I've had on a panel. So I'm super excited for this big, nice, pretty panel of people. And we're gonna bring this great conversation to y'all. So I'm super excited, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and start off and let, of course, how I always do, let the guests introduce themselves and tell you who they are. And then once we do that, we're gonna get into this conversation. And you always know, drop your comments. Let's see your comments. If you got a comment, go and drop them. But come on, Mr. Charlie, tell the people who you are.
Thanks. I'm Charlie Gentry. I'm a community activist, community organizer, working on criminal justice reform policy, and I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited. Shout out to you too, being an NLF, another NLF fam. Yes. Come on, Miss Sandra. Please tell the people who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sandra Bryant. I am a Christian life coach. I'm a grandmother of 11, a great-grandmother of 4, and I just love helping people. Yeah. Shout out to you.
Well, thank you for joining us too. I cannot wait. I think you're going to bring a great perspective to this conversation. So thank you for taking my invite and joining us. Come on, Miss Trina, tell the people who you are.
Hey, everybody. My name is Trina Clark James, and I'm going to tell you what I put in my IRS tax forms every year when they say, like, what is your role? I put that I'm a educational social activist. So I'm just all about being part of the beauty and brilliance within the Black community, particularly serving youth and just having us all be able to realize our Black excellence glory.
Yes. Come on, Miss Keely. Come on, tell the folks who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so honored to be here. My name is Keely Finney. I am a social worker by trade. And my role is definitely to empower my people. I am also a community health worker, so I'm all about the community and uplifting Black families as a whole.
Yes. Shout out to the community health workers. Yes. And come on, Miss CJ. Come on. Tell the folks who you are.
Hey, everybody. My name is Sierra Walker, affectionately known as CJ. I am the executive director of a social impact organization known as the St. Louis Community Health Worker Coalition. Since this show is about like family, I am a wife, a sister, a daughter, a grandchild. And I'm just excited to be here to hear everybody's perspective. Excited to, see what we talk about today.
Thank you for joining us. And come on, Mr. The Great Sankofa. Woo! Shout out to you. Come on, tell the folks who you are.
What's up, everybody? It's Darren Seals, what they say, AKA Mr. Sankofa. I work for myself. I created this platform 7 years ago. I was working for free, trying to bring back unity in the community. I was watching my young brothers die. Like I told everybody, I grew up in the street life, been shot 13 times, gave my life over. I was doing some dirt in the streets, and the Lord spoke to me. And that time, I walked up in the church, dropped my bulletproof vest, didn't know 4 or 5 years later I'd be owning the church. So right now, I'm just trying to do what I need to do in the community. I've been out here for a long time. I got a little platform with some power. So I'm giving the power back to everybody that come on board with me.
All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me on this Saturday. Again, I am super excited to have this conversation. For those who don't know, and this is maybe your first time tapping into the Hood Talks podcast, Us Against Us, we did it on our first season last year. We did it like an overall view, but it was such a broad topic on how to talk about us against us that I had to keep this going and just kind of shorten it in a little bit, being more specific. And so today, I'm happy to have you all join me on the conversation of the Black family dynamics. And I want to start off and how we're going to do this, because we do have several people here I do want to say, like, give each other grace. If you do hop out your mic first, give us grace, because this is a lot of folks, but we got this, right? How do you define the Black family dynamics in a positive way? What would that look like in a positive way for you? Come on, I'll see you.
I'll jump out there first.
Come on.
What it looks like to me is, my dream is that I wish that the Black man can get himself together and get back into the household, so we can change this system. That's, everybody know about the system, that the blueprint. Let's say the blueprint, the ultimate blueprint that degraded us, that made us feel like less than a man. I always wanted the Black man to get back in the household, start treating our sisters like queens and raise our kids. I always told somebody, when my mother was 40 years old, she wasn't out there in the club. She wasn't out putting her butt on the sink, making it look like she got more than what she is. She was out working, grinding, taking care of 5 to 6 kids. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the Black men get back educated. Like, I made a lot of hormone mistakes, but like I tell you, I got a PhD and I ain't never stepped foot into college, but they ain't mistakes. So I go back and teach every man to be something different. So I want to see the Black man back in the household.
Okay. Anybody else want to follow up with that? Anybody agree? Disagree? I could say I agree.
I agree as well. What it really looks like this, to piggyback off of that, but maybe expand a little bit, is that, there's certain things that, generations have that other generations didn't. And so bringing some of those values back, such as, the whole community was accountable for children. Whereas now, you see a lot of, children can do something and I'm scared to say something to them because of what the retaliation or what the parent is going to say. Mm-hmm. Back in my parents, my parents are like 60, 70 years old now. In that generation, you better not get caught out here fighting. Not only am I going to get you, my neighbor going to get you first, and then wait for the parent to get home. So just restructuring that accountability within our community it would be great.
Yeah, I agree. Come on.
I totally agree. You took my answer, Charlie, because that's what I was going to say.
With that too, Charlie.
Yeah, and being one of those, just the age of your parent, I wish that we would have a better communication with the younger generation and stop becoming like their enemies and putting stuff on them because we don't understand, instead of coming together to get a better understanding where we can impart our wisdom to them, where when they walk, they're not doing it because Lil Joe is doing it. They're doing it because they have some understanding of what they're needed to do and who they are. So I would love to see that. Yeah, you hit that one on the head.
Yeah, come on, Trina. I saw you. You got off the mic, but come on back
on. Yeah, so I'm looking at everything that everyone said and just want to kind of look at the parallel to having more accountability in our communities, with also just like pouring more love into our communities and having them really grounded in like love and respect. And I think that definitely does come from communication. I think there's just been so many disconnects, so many things working against us truly being unified. And, just looking at our families at all different levels. So whether it's kind of what was traditionally called the nuclear family, like your parents, grandparents, children, or really I look at family as like my community and my tribe and my village. And that really does span across all Black people, like sisters and brothers are not just by blood, like it's because we are all unified as part of the, Pan-African diaspora. And so just, I definitely believe that there needs to be more accountability and things that we need to get ourselves right. Like we need to be checking ourselves on, but we also need to make sure that is really partnered up with love and respect, and really honoring just what all generations are bringing to the table. Because a lot of our youth, they have a lot of things to say. They just might not have been given the opportunity to say it. Or they might have had to fight to say it. So then that's what kind of brings out some of the kind of negative energy, and vice versa. A lot of our the wisdom that can come from our elders is not being sought out. It's not being respected. So I think just helping to pour love amongst all of us and using love as the foundation to, really grow respect and ultimately unification is kind of how I see it.
So from my understanding, what I'm hearing you all say is it has to not even just be the Pacific of in the immediate family. We're talking about a bigger dynamic of the family, the community, the outside of what's just inside the home, more so of what's the community, the people, the Black people, right? Us, our people. So anybody else kind of want to offer up something to that before we move on, or go ahead?
I will. I just agree with what everyone has said, and I will add to that. If we think about the Black dynamic and the family system, even in our own, I know growing up, like Trina said, family was not just blood relatives, because we take people in. So it can be the neighbor, and we're all in this community as one. And the only thing I would add, I'm not going to repeat what anyone said, but I would add this too, as a Black family, just being able to take disagreements as opportunities to learn, because I think that becomes that separation, and we lose that unity and respect. So.
Yes. Come on, Mr. Martin. Please also introduce yourself and tell the people who you are.
I'm sorry for my tardiness. I'm in Hawaii, so I think it was a disconnect with me thinking about what time it was. So my bad. But I'm Martin now. Yeah. So I'm from St. Louis, the north side, currently living in Hawaii in Honolulu. And government worker. I'm an author, I'm a podcaster as well. And that's kind of how I found the Hood Talk podcast. And I'm heavy into knowing what's going on in St. Louis. I never left that out of me. So like people always say, I'm never home but hardly repping. So I'm always, down for the cause and always keeping my foot on the pulse of what's going on in the city. And salute to my brother Sankofa. I actually sent him some books earlier this year. So I think this conversation is very important to have, because what Trina was saying about like having the grandparents and the matriarchs of our family, I recall like on the north side of St. Louis, like when my grandparents migrated to St. Louis during the Great Migration in the 60s and the 70s from Mississippi, we had my great grandmother in the house, and my grandmother and my father. And this was a time to where, a lot of Black families started to have that missing link in their family structure, which was the Black father, because of, systemic policies that came through the government, where the father couldn't be in the home. But we had our grandparents there. And I remember a moment in time to where like I was acting up in school, not doing what I'm supposed to have been doing. And my great grandmother had like a 4th grade education. And so like she really couldn't understand what was going on, but she would tell me all the time, Martin, let me check your homework. And just having somebody to check my homework, made my grades go up to A's, and I was on the honor roll list. It's small things like that. So what I'm saying is accountability, self-awareness of what's going on around us. As a kid, we don't really understand what's going on. We just want to fit in with our friends. So when we see our friends veering off into, negative activity, we don't see it as being bad. We just want to fit in with what's going on around us. And, us growing up on the north side and going into spiraling into like negative activity, that's a whole different conversation we can have, because we start talking about policies and what's going on, because 15 miles down the road on I-70, you're in the suburbs of the county, and they got rec centers, they got libraries, they got schools, they got after-school jobs for the kids. So we didn't have those resources. And so the Black family dynamic, and then they pushed the Black father out of the picture. It ain't that we didn't want to be there. Like, we wanted to be there, or the Black fathers are still there. Mm-hmm. It's just that you start to see the difference in like kids that had a father in the home and the kids that didn't have a father figure in the home, and how they turned out, and how the ones that didn't turn out when they only had a single mother trying to raise 4 Black boys, walking down Walnut Park in the middle of the city, and not having anything positive going on for them. And so I'm not sure where we are in the conversation, but I don't want to say too much. But
I was gonna say you was getting in, you was going in. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about next. Is kind of like what happened? Where did we go wrong? What was the impact? Especially when we talk about it's Black History Month, right? When we look back over the time frame of generations, and we're talking about generations and the things that we've been through as Black people, where do you all think we went wrong? Or not even just we, what has prevented us from being thriving or successful, or in your idea of what a Black family is? What has prevented that?
I can comment. I don't know if I'm going to say like where we went wrong, but I think something that we can do better. We know generationally, like education wasn't always available to us. So the way that we captured our knowledge was most typically word of mouth. So like, you knowing that the person down the street was going to tell you, go back in the house, is because they was going to yell it off their porch, go back in the house. And you didn't want to hear that too often. But as generations continue to come through, knowledge is more accessible, whether it's YouTube or you decide to go and get a formal education. So the way that we contain that information is very important. Like, our people are dying faster. So the access for my children to potentially meet my grandparents might be slim. So it's important that we capture what my family calls like a living library. And this is very new, but it's because we were losing our, I don't even want to call it tradition, but like the good stories, or like you bought a Buick for $76. Like, whoa. So cheese was 12 cents. Like,
we don't have the history of what our parents or our grandparents.
Absolutely. And that goes for teachings too. So like when we look back at Black History Month, it's the standard teachings. And while we appreciate those, like things are ever evolving. So I'm originally from Detroit. So my opinion may be a bit skewed, but I've been in St. Louis for maybe 4 years now. And I didn't understand like this black and white dynamic until I got here. Like Detroit is very much so community, and I would believe the St. Louis is as well, but we see Black everywhere. So I didn't understand how important it was to capture this knowledge until I came, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, well, what would it mean? So I think the way that we continue to hold on to what we think is important or what our families should continue to push through, like, we have to do a better job intergenerationally of like holding the mantle when we can, whether it's our older generations just telling us and the younger generations writing it down, and then the super younger generations making it look cool, turning it into a rap, making it a visual. I don't care. But like, we have to figure out a way where these things stay in the family, because we're learning the same things and we're not learning the things we need to.
And I think that goes back to someone said communication. Because one thing, I love my grandfather dearly. I do. And my grandmother. I love them dearly. They're both gone. But one thing I don't ever remember is having conversations about things that they experienced. I do not know that. I cannot go back and say, only from what I saw, but I don't know what like migrating from Mississippi to St. Louis looks like for them. So I do agree, is like not only being present in the youth life when you're, and come on, Miss Sandra, help me out here. Not only being present and being there, but having conversations with the youth about your own experiences that you have that they weren't around for, is going to keep our history going and our immediate history, right?
Yes. And I'll just tell you what I do as a grandmother. I'm the oldest of 11. So, and my mother just passed 2 years ago. So my sisters and brothers now call me Sister Mama. Well, my husband, who passed 9 years ago, was number 7 of 12. So we didn't need any outside. Our family, just from my marriage, we had a slew of people. I have nieces and nephews and cousins, and I don't even know half of them. But when we get together, because of the way we poured into them, my house was called the Castle. Mm-hmm. Now I grew up on South Side in the Peabody Project, so my childhood was fight to survive. Pruitt-Igoe, Doris Webb, it didn't make no difference. It was fight to survive. So, but out of that, my grandmother, which is my kid's great grandmother, taught about the slavery aspect. So I got to see that as well. I got to see Martin Luther King and all of that. So I took all of that and put it into one thing. And the most important was to show them the reverence of God. I don't see that. I don't hear that. They have no fear. They don't even understand who they are. But we were shown that. Now, it wasn't always 100, as the kids can say, but it was the best they knew how to do in imparting that information. So the rest of it, we got to see for ourselves. But when we come together and allow our children, our youth, any youth that we see that are missing, they just want to be loved. They want instruction. They want to be cared. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. And if one person can do that, that's what we need to embrace them, not add on to the tension they're already having. If they're fighting in their home or dad's not there and mom's not there, be that dad. Show them what it looks like. Let them come over, but still hold that authority. Go check with your mom and see if it's okay. Go see if it's okay. We'll throw a pallet on the floor. We don't have to have no bed. We're used to that. Throw a couple of coats down, put a pillow off the couch, and just have at it. The point was, you're comfortable, you're safe, and this is what we do. This is how we live. We're to give them some idea of what's missing. And that's what they want. We all pray. We sat at the table. I never seen so many of these little tables like my computer's on, where everybody got their own space, a computer, a phone, and I'm just looking. What happened to coming to the dining room and everybody eating the same thing, and you could hear forks, knives, spoons, and conversations going? We don't have that. So it breaks my heart, because we are brilliant people, brilliant, without doubt. But nobody knows that in our family until somebody gets killed, or somebody falls and scrapes themselves, or another ethnic group comes in and try to take something from them. Then you hear all the brilliance. Why not walk in that every day?
Every day.
Oh, okay. I'm coming. I'm sorry.
So let me.
Okay. Hold on, Trina. I got you, Trina. Let Sankoff go. And I got you, Trina.
You can go.
Okay,
Go
okay. I thought you was about to come off. Go ahead. Come on, Trina, then. Thank you. Thank you for the respect. There you go. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I love the respect happening right here. So
Yes, baby. That's how we do it.
So I want to say two things are like running through my head. So one, just hearing Miss Sandra talk about like how it was even as an adult with her family growing up, took me back to the days when I was a kid, and like I didn't even consider people, like I know now I have second cousins and I have second cousins once removed and all this, but like there was just this sense of like 50, 60 of us were coming together down like in Laclede Town every 4th of July. Like it was probably about 20 of us that were in my age range, and then my parents' age range. They were out there playing Bid Whist till like 2, 3 in the morning while the kids were trying to sneak out. Like I remember all the holidays of my extended family, beyond just my parents and my siblings, my brother and sister, coming together with family in places that one just don't even exist anymore. So like broke my heart, even though I was young. Feel like maybe I was just about to become an adult when they ended up tearing down Laclede Town. But the idea of there was time and space for families, not just defined by your immediate family, to regularly come together. And part of what I think might be happening now is just as a society, we become so disconnected because of what like Sierra said. Right, these are all great advancements, but at the same time, they actually, I feel like, are hindering us as a society when it comes to true, authentic community. Because people don't just get together, and then when they do get together, like Ms. Hunter said, they end up all being on their individual phones. And that's not just the youth. I've been together with friends, and we'll be out at like a restaurant or something, and I look around and like everybody's on like posting on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and I'm like, wait, we're all physically here together in the same room now. Like maybe we should be putting away our phones. So that time and space, I think, is really important. And then the second thing I just wanted to bring up was not looking at where we went wrong, because I never look at it as the Black community like we did something. Something was done to us, and we do have to assume some individual responsibility within like where we are now and where we can go forward. But a big thing that I know when I first even met Shavana, that's on my heart is how as a community do we really first acknowledge the trauma, the intergenerational trauma that has impacted us individually, as families and as a community. And then once we acknowledge it, how do we help to heal within ourselves individually as families and communities? Because I really do think that'll go a long way. That healing will go a long way in restoring the connectedness, even in a society where there's so much technology.
Okay. Yeah, come on. There you go. Come on.
You all, let me say this. You know how you and everybody is absolutely right. It can go all the way back to slavery. The disconnect of man being into that household. I'm always say that because I was out of my household. Luckily, God, let my kids take the right path because I showed them this is what happens when you go to the street life. But I always say we traumatized. Back then, my grandfather, I have never seen my grandfather, I think one time at a family reunion with sneakers on. And so I always saw him with a suit and tie. Then it can go all the way back to when you want to date a woman. It was always, if you made love to a woman back when you was young, you marrying that woman. So that disconnect, I fell into that category too. You know what I'm saying? 5 different baby mamas because Papa was a Rolling Stone type guy. But you go back and try to clean up your mistakes as you get older. But this generation that we facing now, they heartless. They don't want to listen. The parents becoming partners, parents becoming like homegirls type thing. You know what I'm saying? The mother can't be a friend. The father can't be a friend. We got to take that back. You can get all the way back down, all the way up from slavery, all the way up to now to the educational piece. You know what I'm saying? They taking all the teachers out of our neighborhoods. They taking over our neighborhoods. I mean, that conversation can go 1,000 miles where the disconnect and that, but how do we get it back? We got to get the black man back in the house. So I remember my baby mama had just got some food stamps and she thought that the world was on her lap. She got free food and a good $250. But he said, I bet not live in her house. You feel what I'm saying? So they was already had a blueprint plan to take the man out of the household. I'm always say that. I don't care what nobody say. I die believing that because if you take the man out the household, you're taking that solid structure. Not saying that a woman can't raise a kid, but once we get that hump on our back, ladies, we on our own. My role model was the streets. My father couldn't tell me nothing once I touched them streets. So I always say we got to go back and learn where we came from. That's why I decided to call my name, and I'm finna get my name actually changed to Sankofa. So I had to go back to the beginning. I had to go back to figure out where I went wrong at. So I tell all my partners, all my friends, where did we go wrong? I thought we supposed to protect our queens. I thought we supposed to show them the way, show our kids the way. But they put the sauce on the pudding on the cake, whatever you want to call it. They put the sauce in it, and they made us feel that our kids thinking that all the crime, the rap songs. I mean, they put a whipping on us. So a lot of folks really hate me when I come to the room, and I just keep it 100. It's a blueprint that we have to get it off of us, and it take all of us to pull our part. So all of us doing our job, but all of us against each other. Y'all feel what I'm saying? So I be wanting us to all just get together and put that structure. You can't have a community if you ain't got unity. I always tell people when you look up ghetto, it's a group of people living. When you look up suburbs, a group of people living. You know what I'm saying? But where did it go wrong in our neighborhoods? So the value of our wants are down. And I think we just got to bring it back up. In our lifetime, if it happened, but we got to keep going with it.
And one thing I wanted to kind of touch on, because I think is a valid point. You're talking about having the family dynamics, having each person play a role. And from my point of view, I think we don't have a standard anymore in our community. We don't have a code. We don't have anything that we go by. Anything and everything goes at this point, right? So when you're talking about having people come back into the house, having the man and all of that, looking into the times of where we are now and how realistic is that? Is that really realistic? And that's just someone might be a little pushback, but is that really realistic in the times that we're dealing with right now? I mean, because we're up against a lot of other things. It's not like, right? We're not in the 60s and 70s and all of that anymore, right? We are now in a new day and age. And again, we don't have a code. Anything goes right now. So how realistic is that moving forward? What do we need to do? Go ahead.
I think it can happen. It's just that 1 can teach 2, 2 can teach 3, 4 can teach more. We all have to just, like, all guys come around me. And it's not about the money with me. Like I said, I got my own channel. That's my Roku channel. All I'm going to have on there. I'm not going to just show the little kids, let them know that you hopeless. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying my best every day. Like I said, it might not see it in my lifetime. But if we keep doing it, if God let this earth keep rotating, eventually it's gonna happen. I just always feel that if we can rewind everything to another culture, I wonder what would they do. But we overcame slavery. You know what I'm saying? We did a lot. But we can overcome this if every man just sit back and look in the mirror and say, you know what? I want something different for my generations to come. But once we start teaching them about generational wealth, then we throw a little past, like in schools. I go to the schools. I sat in the classroom probably about 6 months ago. They didn't teach us nothing about our history. It was like something else. And I'm like, that ain't you didn't do nothing. It was a whole hour in here, and you didn't even teach these kids. Like the young lady said, they all on their phones. You take a phone away, a kid probably would break down. You know, so I think it happened, you all. Just we got to work on it. Rebirth.
Okay. I saw Keely, Keely, and then Charlie. I got you. Did you want to say something, Keely?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. And I got you, Charlie.
So I was gonna say, for me, the breakdown took place when crack hit the streets. You know, I think that broke down communication when we talk about communication and the unity of the family. And that's when children were left to fend for themselves, basically. So we were in survival mode, and we learned to do that, and it continues on into adulthood. I have 5 generations in my family, and although we're close, there's still secrets. So we don't know about each other. We can get together and it's surface, but to know what my grandfather went through, what my grandmother went through, it's not out there. So me as an individual, I try to be as transparent as possible, because if we don't know what the history is of the family, we don't know how to avoid those same pitfalls. And I would say this too, as far as bringing the family back together, I wouldn't focus so much on what went wrong. I mean, we do have to acknowledge it, but how do we move forward? Because we can put everybody back in the household, but if we don't change the mindset and the conditioning, it's going to be the same thing. So.
That's good.
So,
come on, Charlie. Yeah, go ahead.
If we look at it, we have had accomplishments. We have moved forward. If you look at, you know, what happened in Illinois with the World's Fair, you look at Black Wall Street, you look at all these different accomplishments that we didn't overcame some of these structures. It is very much possible to bring it back. But like Sankofa was saying, it has to be a continuous effort. It's not going to be just a 5-year, a 10-year change. You know, like we talk about, you know, different changing policies. Usually a lot of time we have the issue in sight, but we don't really understand necessarily what is the dynamics or what was their structure of why it's like that. We focus on one thing, removing somebody out, an issue, but at the same time, that's not, that one little issue wasn't what brought the whole table, all the dominoes down. So just sticking with those things, instilling them into our youth, instilling them into the people that's already working right now. You know, a lot of us doing the work right now, but it has to be a fight. When we were talking earlier about, you know, what is some of the pitfalls, you know, we talked about, we didn't have unity centers. We didn't have, you know, these recreational centers. We didn't have boys and girls clubs. We didn't have all these type of different things in the community for Black men and young children to get involved with. My mom, she dragged me to the Boys and Girls Club. It became useful for me. But at the same time, that wasn't always around, and that wasn't the 98% of what was going on. So, like I said, I feel that we can get back there, but we have to utilize some of the history that we've already experienced that was positive and created those positive changes. Once we do that and keep instilling it, it's going to happen.
Yes.
Miss Sandra, did you want to say something, Miss Sandra? No? Okay, come on, Sierra. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Martin was off mute first, so
okay. I told y'all I'm new to this. Thank y'all for being patient with me here.
I'm gonna let her do it first, though. I'm gonna do what Sankofa did earlier. So
come on, y'all, Black men. I love y'all. Come on,
okay. I'll be brief. And this is gonna throw a wrench in, but you know, maybe it'll give us a chance to have some conversation. We keep talking about going back. And as a member of one of the younger generations, going back, I'm not sure. I don't know if we're going to go back. And this is why I say it, because what once was is not even the norm now. So in order to get a reimagined future, it is genuinely going to take, and this is going to sound so like corny, so low level, but like I'm picturing like a whiteboard session, like get all the generations in a room. What do we want to see go forward? Let's map this out and let's get to it. Because honestly, concerts don't even look the same. Like we've seen it. So we used to go to the concert, put on our heels, get ready, get cute. That's not the thing. You go to the concert in your worst pair of shoes now because you're expecting to come out looking like whatever. So the new future is not what, while I love me some 60s, 70s, 80s music, I'm a jam on it all day.
That part.
This is not the lifestyle I think I'm going to say I'm looking forward to. So in order to get to where we all want to be, it's going to genuinely take like a deep conversation. And the only reason I put this is because while I want to make sure there's a man in the home, I have people that I love who have no desire to have a man in the home. And that is a very different conversation. But I just want to talk about, if we're talking about moving a culture, those people are still a part of our culture. So to move us collectively, it takes a shared vision. So I just didn't want us to have these hopes of like, yeah, we can go back. But the back is still a little different for me.
But I think, and this is why I love panel discussions, because it brings all different, because we are, right? We are different people in different spaces. But one thing I say we have to agree on is that we're Black, right? But we all have different perspectives, and we're not all going, like I said, we're not all going to agree that being a family as a Black man, a Black woman, and children is what we're going to do. But how do we, again, make sure that we move forward and that our community is flourishing? But
can I say one thing just to what TJ said? It's going to be real quick, because I saw this post on Facebook and it said just what she was saying. God would disrupt our comfort to confront the dysfunction. And we want to be comfortable in what we know and what we've grown up in. But sometimes we have to be uncomfortable in order to confront the dysfunction so we can change things up, and not for it can be better. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's not a better way of going about things. So
okay. Thank you for that. Come on, Mr. Martin. I know you wanted to come in on this.
I think a couple wanted to say something really, really quick in rebuttal to what Sierra said.
Okay.
Well, it's just thanks, my brother. Check this out, y'all. You got to know where you've been to even think about going forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, sister, I didn't did the worst of the worst out here. But the moment I sat down and I heard Martin Luther King last speech, that made me realize and say, dang, I'm doing some effed up stuff to my people. When the dope hit, but you still got to say people had choices. I had a choice to go out there and pick up a gun. I had a choice to do. I could have went to school and did what I was supposed to do. But you got to go back and figure out where we went wrong. You got to listen to them stories. You got to go back and hear them testimonies. You got to know that different folks died for us to even be right here on this screen. So you got to go back and really just get at a thought. So if every man think back and say, in schools, teach us where we came from. Maybe it'll spark the mind that can get us the next Obama. But these young minds that's now, the way it's going now, if you say move forward, how are we going to move forward and all the powerful men are dying? Everybody got a message is straight dying. So you got to go back and try to create another Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? These guys that really fought for us. So the past, like a lot of folks say, well, the past is the past. No, it's not. I think about every day I get up and represent some that make me say, you know what, I ain't going back to the street life. You'll never see me shoot another person. You'll never see me hustling no more. So if I can change, I think the next man can change too. But we just got to keep pushing it, instill it in his head. Matter of fact, let's go to the daycares and start teaching them about the history in the daycares, telling our story, and then I think it'll come across.
Accountability.
Can I say something real fast? I'm sorry.
No, just gonna pass old Morton up. Okay. Morton, it's all love. I got you.
It's real fast. Because I totally see where Sierra's coming from. I'm looking at it even further than that, like a combination of what she said and what Sankofa said, that I'm not trying to look back to the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, I'm not even trying to look back in the time that we've been on this earth. On this land in this country that was stolen from the indigenous people. Like, I feel like we need to be looking to not the times and the things that people did and all that, but look back to where our values were rooted in, how we lived as community and as villages and tribes before colonization happened. So that's what I just want to throw out, because I'm totally with Sierra that it's not, to me, it's not so much about looking back, but it's because I'm not looking back just in this like time frame of people that we know as Black people. I'm looking to not the people necessarily, but I'm looking back to kind of regain the values and the things that really were at our core as a community prior to colonization, and helping to instill that in whatever our reimagined future looks like. So
the standard, the code that they live by, right? That's what I'm
right, but it's not even as kind of concrete as that code. Like what's instilled in me at my core. No matter if you tell me the way that the code said we should wake up at 7 a.m. or this one said we should wake up at 8 a.m. Like, if in my core, my beliefs, my values are, all about, like emotion and like, yeah, I feel like that will help no matter what that ends up looking like, to Sierra's point too, that it's not necessarily there's a man and a woman and children that come from them, and that, but as a tribe, as a village, if at our core we all have the same kind of values. And I think Charlie even spoke to that earlier. It's really about just getting back to our values, and colonization really is all about me, individualization. I got to put somebody else down to make sure that I stay up, the whole crabs in a barrel that I hear all the time about St. Louis. That's not just St. Louis. That's, we have this individualization mindset nowadays, where we really need to get back to, it's about village. So
the village. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to get that out.
No, you fine. Come on, Martin. Do you remember your statement?
No, many of us on the panel, but 8 of us have like these collective thoughts, right? And they're all very important and imperative to what we need to do. But it's like the conversations bring out awareness, right? So what do we do with this awareness? How do we build on it? And I think that what builds on it is policy. As being a grad student for public policy, that's where the next level goes to make sure somebody has the information to make the change, right? And they're hearing it from the people that's on the ground. And I think these policies have to bring us to have, wealth in our communities, dignity, and give us opportunities. But what does that look like? I hate to talk about it, but it's structural racism. It's systemic racism. We talked about the youth, and I think right now, a study shows that 60% of babies right now are born to single mothers. 60%. So that's over half. And so that brings up the part of Sankofa talking about, the Black father being there. But that also brings into the core of what Sierra was saying, that maybe the woman don't want a man in the house, And so a few factors bring into this conversation. And that's like the housing quality, the education, the crime, and economics. So the housing part, Sister Sandra brought up Pruitt-Igoe. Man, we can talk about Pruitt-Igoe for hours and days, because we know what happened at that situation. We started to see, the housing government push the Black male out of the situation. This happened right here in St. Louis. And then we also see about the education. When I was back home in St. Louis, we lived in Bate on the north side. You go down Broadway in the 90s, Broadway Strip had nothing but barbershops, bike stores, beauty salons, nail shops. We had the flea market store, I forget the name of it. But we had all of that going on. And you ride down Broadway right now, you don't see these things. And so education, we got introduced to desegregation. I got bused all the way out to Valley Park High School from Baden, right? I had to get up an hour and a half early just to get a decent education, because if I was going to Beaumont, it probably wouldn't have happened. If I was going to Bayshore, it probably wouldn't have happened. And then we talk about crime. Like, we know that the police target us in St. Louis. They target us. You ride down Pound Line or Jenny Station Road back in the day, they were pulling you over for no reason, And then you talk about the economic value. When we don't have enough money to survive, or all our money just goes towards our bills and our utilities, and then there's nothing to give to the kids, then what can we offer them as parents? You know, so all of these things stem around policies. And so here in Honolulu, I had volunteered with the ACLU, right? And we had a conversation just like this. And we took our conversations and went right down to the state office Capitol building and went and talked to the congressman. They worked for us. The doors were open. We walked, knocked on their doors, and went inside. And we were told, and I learned something really, really quick from the ACLU. They were like, these policy holders, these statesmen, these aldermen, these mayors, they notice the statistics. They notice the stats already of what's going on. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear about what's going on in the family dynamics, something that's going to make them understand why the change is needed. And so this conversation we're having right now, that is that conversation. And when we went inside the state capitol building, we talked about, you know, the school to prison pipeline. You know, these are things that have been removed from their minds and how they think about us. And so we kind of reinstituted on why we need these policies and how they can, you know, push us forward, not push us back to talk about we want to live back in the 70s. No, it's not that. But we started to see like a family structure in those times. We don't see that again. So I think that may have been the miscommunication when we're talking about the past. I'm not saying we want to go back and live in the 60s. That was the civil rights era. That was sicking dogs on us. Not at all. I don't want to go back to that. But we also had family structure there, you know. So I think that's the happy medium we're trying to get to right now. But I think that all stems around policies, which is, you know, housing quality, education, crime, and then economics. So
I'm gonna peel it back just a little bit because I support Martin. But I think to challenge like us as a culture, we have to slow down a little bit, because like we are easy to say, go out and vote, like policy, make sure that this is the case. But where we have the gap is policy is only as good leadership. So like we have to teach us what it means to be leaders. Like that's been stripped for us, whether it's the Black man coming out, whether it's you feeling like you don't have the chance to be a leader in your employment space, whether it's you feeling like your parent not gonna let you raise your child because they think that you don't really understand what's going on. At all levels of generations, there's been this depletion of leadership. So even the best policy can't be acknowledged if there's not the right leader to recognize it or the right leader to put it forward, or us as just a culture to know like, hey, leadership is policy. So like, while I agree that there are certain things we can do, I'm not saying I don't think the past has relevance, but I'm saying what about the past allows us to build in our leadership to create the new tomorrow? Because there's not many conversations about how you hold your own agency in your decisions, how you take what it is that you do and support someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm thinking like, at least for my generation, we are on an active stride to like figure out how to lead. And a lot of us are doing it wrong. Here's my prime example. Everybody thinks they have to be their own boss. We got entrepreneurs out here like Wazoo, but nobody is figuring out what it means to be a part of the team. So here you are, big boss, and now you need to build a team, and you don't even know what it means to do that. So like the way that we are yearning for leadership looks a little different, and in some cases it's harmful. And we've seen leaders who think that they are most competent. Look at our pandemic, and they've put out harmful policy. So I love policy, and Martin, I want to jam after this actually, but I think that for those who have no interest in policy, it's important to recognize that your leadership still can fuel that. So I agree. Just wanted to share that whole piece.
And I just want to say real quick, too, I think for me, what I see is a lot of trauma. We have not healed from what we have been through in our past. And we're bringing that to this space of what we talk about in leadership. So I think that's one dynamic that I'm really huge about in our community as Black people is not only how we deal with outsiders, but how we're dealing with each other again. And I think, yeah, we can bring the family and the Black man back in, but how are we addressing the traumas that he's bringing back into the home? So Keely, come here with me on this one, because I know you got that therapy background. So
and this is a personal experience background. I'm trying to stay away from the therapeutic part of this, but you can't have one without the other. So I totally agree with what Sierra says. A good leader knows how to follow, and it definitely takes a team. But I'll say this too. I think as people and as a community, we have to give ourselves permission to get out of that mindset of surviving and moving to thriving and turning our pain into purpose, because we are traumatized. We don't talk about the trauma. Half of us don't even know we've been traumatized, individually and collectively. So until we can address that, we're going to continue to operate in dysfunction. So that's my take.
It's not And I agree. I agree totally, because I'm in that field as well. But what we don't do is when you, and I'm bringing this to, I'm trying to tie in the father not being in the home with this, because if I see CC, and I'm sorry, CJ, but I call her CC, and she just looks like she's not having a good day, I don't think about her as a young Black woman who got it going on. She dressed nice. She got her own little business. Not like that. I think of her as my daughter. I will walk up to her. Sometimes I don't even ask her, can I hug you? I just grab her and hug her because I can see that need. And I hug her, not to the point where, oh, it's okay, little pat. I hold her to let her know I'm here. I see you. That's what's missing. Now, the Black man can do that to a brother, and they start thinking, hey, hold up, wait a minute. But they have to find a way to communicate that everything is not words. You got to put some actions behind those words or in front of those words. You got to build something. These kids, women, you talk about queen, don't call me queen if you don't know what a queen is. Please don't address me like that. Because a queen means I sit on the throne with you. I'm not shining your shoes for you.
Oh.
So if I'm going to be your queen, treat me as such, because I do know what a queen is. And not from a definition in a book. Learn me. Know me. Treat me the way you know builds me. I'm not a carbon copy. There is nobody else like Sandra. None. There might be a lot of Sandras, but there's only one Brian. That's me. And I'm 100 good at it. Have always been. So, but my king is dead. So if you coming to replace my king, baby, you better come straight, right, and fully loaded to get this queen. And it takes a lot, but we don't put that out there. We settle.
Yes.
Whether we know our past, we settle. Yeah. I can't. I don't know what that means. I don't want to go back to the 60s either. I was a little girl. Heck no. And I didn't have this. So when a white person said move over, I was looking at them like, who are you talking to? Several times got slapped, spit on, pushed, called nigga, pushed down the stairs by teachers. Dogs, I have that in my head. That's my psyche. But I don't take it as a trauma. If you can see, I'm getting real passionate about this. I got to calm down.
No, bring the real in the wild. This is what it's for. This is what it's for.
What it does is make me go back to you, the younger generation. That's why I keep saying that. And tell you and hold you and listen to you and speak to you and love you and disagree with you. When my grandkids come over, I have a basket. Before they come through that door, all cell phones go in the basket. All of them. The TV little thingies, the iPads, go in the basket. What do? We play Sorry, Twister, games they ain't never heard of. I showed them how to play Mama Peg. We play jacks. We jump rope. Ain't no electronics. We watch movies. We got popcorn. You're going to watch this movie, then you're going to explain it to me. That's what we do. And they think, at first they didn't like it. But now we're going over Granny's. What game we going to play? You got a new game? La, la, la. See, now you're reaching them. Yeah. Do I still whoop them? All the way up to my 27-year-old grandchild. Yes, I do. And tell them, call the people. And you better hope they get here before I get through whooping you. My thing is not everybody else, but I do not want the white police knocking on my door telling me they done killed my child, whether they have to do something or not. You won't do that. So that's what I'm talking about.
Let me zoom in on that, because I am talking next month. We will be talking about the new day and age parents, the more conscious, parenting, gentle parenting. That's our next conversation. But I think this is really important, because one thing I do think, and what you said, it just gives me even more like, yeah, this is kind of where it comes from. It was a love thing because you wanted to make sure that your child didn't get hurt from someone outside. So you had to figure out how to, in a sense, tame them to behave the way that you knew they needed to behave to survive outside in the streets. So when we're talking about the punishments and the things like that in that space, I do think now that we're in a different space, in a different time, we still dealing with a lot of that stuff though, right? We're still dealing with racism and bias and all of those things. We are still dealing with that, but how now differently when we're looking at parenting, when we're looking at the father not being there, the father being absent, the mother doing it alone. We're talking about how we're switching up the style of gentle parenting. How do you think that is going to help our families thrive? Is it going to help our family thrive? Like, can we do those things and still thrive as a Black family? I mean, not the whoopings and having the more gentle approach, not maybe necessarily having both parents, because maybe if you're not together, co-parenting now is a thing, right? That's out here. A lot of people are trying. Some aren't successful, but some people are trying to co-parent. Like, can we make these things, if, like Sierra said, if you don't want him no more, but you've had this baby, because that's our reality too, right? A lot of people done had babies outside of wedlock and they not together. So how do we make something move if we can't get back to what was? Is it possible?
I would say what I think is important is balance. And I'll say this, thinking about, I'm all for a 2-parent household, but I can say I've seen children come out of a 2-parent household more traumatized than a child coming out of a 1-parent household. So I think our focus is sometimes off. I think if we have that balance and being able to see what's important and the mindsets that we need to change to implement the correct change to address the things that's going on in the family. So is it possible? I think it's possible, but I think we really got to be focused on the right things and not lose that balance, because when you talk about parenting, our parents were do as I say and not as I do. But we have changed. Some of us are still like that, but do as I do. We want to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And you just don't.
Uh-oh.
You muted again, Keely.
There you go. I'm trying to help you out.
I have no time over here. But that's how the dysfunction continues from generation to generation. And that's my take. So sometimes we just go to the other extreme to keep what we think our children from experiencing what we experience, but we don't have that balance.
Anybody else want to offer up something on that space? If we moving forward if it's not going to go back to how it was in the 60s, if we talk about not having the structured Black family like it was, what can we offer up so that we can move forward differently in the future and still be impactful in the dynamic of family? Because I'm thinking outside of just the immediate family, again, it goes back to the community. I think it kind of goes back to, I think Charlie said this too. If you knew you had such and such on this block looking out for you and such on that block, you felt secure. You felt like you can go outside and play. I don't let my girls go outside and play without me because I don't know who out here watching her or watching them, and when I'm in the neighborhood growing up with my grandparents, or even at my house, I can go down the street or I can go around the corner because we knew who was in the community. We knew the family. So even if it's outside the dynamics of just the mom and dad and kids, how can we move forward to help the Black family thrive and flourish is my question. Come on.
All right, so I think education is very important. So me raising a 13-year-old right now, my wife and I, we have 2 different parenting skills, right? So he's getting like 2 different dynamics of how, who he should listen to and how he should conduct himself accordingly. Great kid, but I think I'm raising a son right now, right? And I'm a man. And so like, I don't have that from my parents to go off of. My mom and dad was there, but it was a very dysfunctional household for me, right? Very traumatized. And we've been talking about that, the crack epidemic. And so having a mother that had an addiction problem and a father had an addiction as well to selling it, they were just trying to survive, right? And so I didn't really get molded as what I know a parent to be. So now my wife and I, she had a similar background upcoming too from Fairground Park area. So we're now both just trying to figure it out. And so with our son, we're okay with taking L's sometimes. Like I don't stress the element of him being perfect, if that makes sense, right? I understand that kids are going to act up sometimes, and he's 13 years old. Speaking from my own personal experience, like even when he messes up, I just teach him to try his best, right? So I'm like, hey, Kamar, bro, you have to try your best. Even if you study for a science test or a math test and you're striving to get an A, but you get a C, I'm okay with that because you tried your hardest. And so I think we have to instill these small morals into our kids, because society, what's outside these doors, we can't really manage that. We're not with them 24/7. And I think there is a different barrier of what we're dealing with right now. Keely brought up the factor, and you brought up the factor of being able to go outside. Well, girls that go outside nowadays are getting snatched, because of sex trafficking. And so now we kind of shelter our children because we're trying to protect them. But us sheltering them sometimes can make them feel like they have to have a resentment towards their parents. Oh, he don't want me to go outside. Mom is being mean to me. That's not really the case. And so I think we have to communicate with our kids as well. And we have to over communicate, because if we don't talk to them now, whatever they want to learn, they can get this cell phone right here and Google it, and they can find out about it on YouTube University. Yeah. And so I would rather my kids hear it from me, talking about sex, financial literacy, dealing with everything that can strive them to go the wrong way. I'd rather me have that hard conversation with them that my parents didn't have with me, to make sure that they have those morals and those convictions to go off of. It could be like, well, my pops already talked to me about this, so when my friends start going out to the left, I'm going to go home. I'm going to call my parents to come pick me up. And so I think we have to over communicate, because whatever we don't tell them, they can get from the internet. So.
Yes, communication is key. It goes back to that communication. Come on, Charlie, you came off mute. I saw you.
So I think I just really want to kind of sharpen what Martin just said about, and Keely talked about it too, kind of the difference between now and then as far as articulating to your children what is being said. A lot of times, in the past, we didn't have, I know my parents didn't. They felt like they didn't have to explain anything to me, even though it was a direction, even though it was something in the right direction. And I think what Martin is keening in on is that it needs to be a conversation, not a conversation that's, and pointing the finger to where they become rebellious, but it's a conversation where they understand, hey, I understand this is what I can do to be safer. This is why I don't want you doing this. Because when you point that finger, and when you have, that muscle behind your voice and that tone, some people will become rebellious of what you have to say, regardless if it's positive or not, or if it's going to keep me safe or not.
And I totally agree with all of you guys. That is true. And like you said, to come from a household where you do as I say, you don't get to ask questions. Well, if I'm looking at you do something that you're telling me not to do, me as a child, that don't make sense, but I can't voice that. So to go with Keely with that balance, I just took out of that what will work and balanced it with my kids. Now, today I can talk to them and ask them, as a parent, what do you wish I had done different? And some of the stuff they tell me makes me cry, because I do remember, but it didn't come with a book. All I had was the example that my mom and dad set for me. So when they said that, all I can do is apologize. Well, my son came and told me that meant more to him than anything, just to hear me say, I'm sorry. I didn't, that was not my intent. This is what I was trying to do, which I explained to you before I tagged you on some of the stuff. Some of it you just wasn't listening. So,
but let me please say this. Let me please, because that accountability part, that alone is awesome, because I think that is what's driving the disconnect between the older generation and the youth, is because we feel like some of them, not all of them, because shout out to you, Miss Sanders, you definitely showing up and showing out, but some of them do not want to have that accountability piece. And we know, as the younger generation, we know you are doing it from a place of, again, even with this, I be like, some with this conscious parents, and I be like, ain't no book out here, ain't nobody, you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. You know, we don't know if it's going to work. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm doing the best that I can. And we know that. But just to say, like, I apologize, I'm sorry, that accountability piece, I think is very valid. So shout out to you on that note, because I think that's what's driving the gap in between our generations.
Yeah. So, and not to say for me, but I want my children to live. And that live to me means however God purposed them for their lives on this earth while they are here. Whatever he has for them, I want them to live, but truly in abundance. It's one thing to be alive and exist and don't know why you're here or where you came from or what your next step is. But it's a whole nother thing to know who you are, whose you are, and why you're here, and then walk in that purpose. That gives life within itself. And I don't just want it for my children. This is where I see us as a community. I want it for every child. Everybody should have a part in that. Everybody has a purpose. They don't all know it. I don't know it. They don't know it. But if a hug can make you stand up and say, hey, that was cool, I'm giving it. If I can give you $3 and it'll make you feel okay, if I can give you my shoes, well, it depends on which one. So, but that's the kind of stuff I like doing. And if that's my community, because now my community is not all Black anymore. I got a China, I don't know how to say this properly, but it's a Chinese man on the corner. I have right next door is a Mexican. Across the street is a halfway house. So my neighborhood, an elderly couple across the street next to them. Further down, more Black people. Then you got a drug dealer further down. So my neighborhood dynamics
it's changed. It's changed.
A lot.
It's different.
There's no way this neighborhood can raise
your children,
my grandchildren. Like you said, I have to go outside. No, boy, what you looking at? She 10. Back it up.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna happen now. So I have to be their eyes and ears until they can get enough wherewithal and learning how to balance that. So as a community, you have to learn every aspect of where you are, the time period, what you have to offer, what you would let in, and it's just hard. It is really hard. Yeah. But if you don't see yourself doing it right, then just shut up and move.
I definitely think that's a valid point, is that our communities don't look like what they used to look like. So, right. How does that impact what we're trying to accomplish? Because it is very much, but we're not all, again, everyone is not all the same, even in the space of just Black people now. Again, it's not just one specific Black person. It's a dynamic of different things. So I think that, again, with the younger generation, and shout out to Sierra and what she raised up, is like, how do we figure out what we're going to do to move forward? But I do want to get into, which I think we highlighted a lot, but I do really want to offer up too, how can the community, and when I think about community, I think specifically, again, Black people, how can we help the family, the Black family dynamic thrive? How can we help? And I know we touched on it a lot, but literally, how can we help? Because again, I'm thinking outside of just the immediate family. I'm thinking of us all now. How can we help make it thrive? Come on, Trey.
So first, I want to give like a kind of direction of where you was talking about understanding and healing. We've been through so much, but once we come to a place where we're open, we're not necessarily targeting another culture or another race. And I think that, we can start utilizing, some of the things that we have learned, such as, bringing some of those community centers back into the neighborhoods, bringing those mom and pop stores, our, Black owned businesses into our community. But I think one of the biggest things we have to do first is heal.
I agree. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
Yeah, Charlie, you're right about that. You got to heal before you can move on. I always say that, like she said, what's in her community. When I go and get me gas, it's a different race. I'm giving my money to. I want a box of rice, her, anything. Everybody else is having a heaven in our ghetto. I try to sit back and try to teach my little cousins and my sons, even to my grandbabies, my daughters. I got a 2-year-old. I'm teaching her how to save her money, spend what I own. Things you don't really need, don't buy. But we got to start getting the money and spending in our own communities instead of we going to support everybody else and they taking the money out of the community. I remember when, like, these little kids would know what it feel like to say red light, green light, spin the bottle. That's my car. It's like illusion to them. So I just say we have to keep teaching every day. Every day, like you said, sister, every day I hug a brother and they be like, for real, bro? They be expecting me to do something else. I say, bro, hey, just me telling you have a good day, man. Don't let your mother bury you, bury your mother. That's my conversation every day. So it's we gotta show everybody how to start protecting what we got. We can do it. Somebody just gotta start teaching. Like right now, all of us saying good things on here, but I was on a panel one time and I told them, I said, I'm not gonna see you all until the next panel. So when we get on these panels, let's just don't meet until the next time she calls us. Let's link up today. Let's link up tomorrow and have these conversations beyond this panel. Then we reach someone and teach someone. Then they do the same thing, and we just grow. And in the midst of it, we just start healing. We got somebody over here that can talk about trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like I tell them my best part about this, I can go get them. I got 150 kids that's up under me. I'm in the board of education. I can go get them. But now I need somebody else that I can pass off to that's not just trying to get no money. Let's teach these little dudes and we can create whatever we want to create. You know what I'm saying? We talented. We the most talented race in the world. We built this. But we gotta heal. You're right about the child. We gotta heal, you all.
Yes. And valid point. Go ahead.
Sorry. So I'm always saying, like, it's the healing. I remember there being a conversation on Facebook. Someone asked, like, do we need to heal first and then try to make, positive movement and like take action and fight for things? Or do we need to fight for things, make it all good, and then heal? And I remember feeling like, I don't think we can have it be linear like that. Like we have to be doing both in parallel because we don't have time to wait to try to just make things right and, fight against racism. But then also it's not going to be sustainable even if we do fight and get some wins if we're still negatively impacted by the trauma. So definitely always am wanting to be a part of conversations that will lead to action in terms of healing at all different levels, individually, family, and institutionally and systemically, right? But I also wanted to just kind of bring it back to something Martin said that made me really think. Everything that we've been saying has been things either that we're talking about what we're doing with our own, with our own immediate families, and what we're doing with kind of our sphere of influence. I think we all have different gifts and talents, and we all have different lanes that we're going to be the most effective in. And so I think realizing that this can't just be at the policy level or like systemically how we're trying to change things, and vice versa. It can't just be at the individual level. Like, how did I raise my child in my household? Like, it has to be happening in all those places. And maybe to Sankofa's point, like, I know I'm not a policy person. Like, I love that there are people like Sierra and now knowing Martin, that like that's the lane that they really can be impactful in, but that's not my lane. So knowing that and then being very intentional around, okay, how am I connecting within my circle, and what am I bringing to the table? And this is a space that I'm good in. I love children. Like I said before, I'm all about empowering children, but I know that's not my gift also, to directly interact with them and really be able to understand, like, behaviorally, what are you doing? Like sometimes I'm gonna be like, I need to reach out to Keely and say, okay, like, what is going on with this child? Because I love them and I want them to be whole and healthy. I know I don't have that gift. So I just want to lift up that. I think kind of back to, like I said, about what Sankofa said, we do have to be intentional and realize that all the points that have been brought up today are all valid, and they all have to work together in concert. And we're not all going to do all of them. It's really about how do we identify what lane I'm in. If I'm on track A and Sierra's on track B and Martin's on track C and Sandra's on track D, you know, like, all of our trains are all moving in the same direction towards a common goal.
I want to add to Trina because, Martin, did you have something in direct response? Okay. All right. I love the both and approach. It's like something I preach forever. Even if I'm asking, should I get a bag or shoes? Actually, I'm going to get both. So I love both and. You'll always hear me preach it. However, I'm thinking about, like, okay, what do I do now? Because I didn't know how to answer your question. Like, I was just going to listen and see what people are saying. Like, what do I give practically? But when Trina said work across all levels, I'm like, oh, okay, let's think about this. So I'm about to brain dump. Hopefully it's helpful. One thing I think about the individual level is, like, it's okay to be selfish in your house. So the way my mother raised me, there were people in my family who was like, you let that girl ask that many questions, or you let her talk to you like that. And my mom was like, yeah, I'm trying to develop her voice. She has a speech impediment. So, like, I'm going to be friends with her, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm going to teach her that the root of any relationship is respect. And when you have a friend, you've chosen to respect that person, because you could have just left them alone. Your family kind of get thrown in. But if you get this extra level, you know, that was what was raised in my home. So I think it's okay for people to be, like, selfish in their home. And then the second layer, though, to think about community is we were always taught, but again, I come from Detroit, but we were taught to blend with the block. So, like, the car shop was my best friend's father. So, like, you wasn't about to drop no trash. You were actually there every Saturday to pick it up. Or the beauty supply was my uncle's girlfriend or something. So, like, you had something in the community that you were, like, welled to. So I guess because we know our blocks look different, I would still say blend with the block, but it could be to build leaders. So, like, if we see something we don't like, or we want an auto shop that's actually run by us, then we blend with the block to figure out who actually cares about cars, who can run this, who's the salesperson to make sure people come in this thing, who could do marketing, and there we go. So that's what I think about community level. And then I guess systemically, I would say document, going back to Martin's point, like, whether that's policy, whether that's a book, whether we doing some St. Louis shows, whether we getting on Netflix, like, whatever it is, like, we need to document. Because I attended Howard University, and I come from the east side of Detroit. And if you know about Detroit, you know what I'm talking about. Going to college wasn't even an option for me. I wasn't thinking about it. But when I got to Howard, I was like, yo, Black people are out of control. Like, we are dope. We are so diverse. We are naturally leaders. And I want to figure this out. And, like, ever since then, it's just been wow. So to go from never even expecting to leave Detroit, walking on one side of the street for majority of your life, if you hear what I'm saying and you hear what I'm saying, and then going to Howard and being like, whoa, there's so much possibility. But, like, working across levels, I love that. I never thought about it. Yes, we can do that.
Yes. Anybody else want to offer up some on this? Because this is going to be our closeout. Anybody else? Come on, Martin.
Shout out to Detroit, Sierra. You know, give me a Fago and a Coney. But so one thing we're talking about, I think, is financial literacy. We don't have the financial resources that we need. And I think when you venture out of St. Louis and go to different cities, you see a Koreatown, you see the Jewish town, you see the Chinatown, and it's all these communities where blocks of nothing but Chinese people owning businesses. And then the money circulates and it circulates. And Charlie brought that up earlier about Black Wall Street. We had these things happen, and then we've seen what happened to them. And so that's kind of the past and the present again. But I think we need financial literacy. What does that look like? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. But we do know that when we look back, I think 2019 was the last time before COVID happened, and we seen people who actually had jobs and what it came down to. And the median wealth for the white family was over 150K. The median wealth for the Hispanic family was like 36,000. The median wealth for the Black family was like 24K a year. And so we see from 24K and then 150K for the white family. That's a big difference when it comes to finances, economic value. I'm not saying money changes the world. I'm not saying we should have money to be our ruling thing, but I think collectively as a resource, we need to have that. Like 2 months ago, Brother Sankofa was like, yo, I'm still building my empire. I need some money for some trash bins. I need some money for some paint. And I cashed out the brother, and I did what I wanted to do. But once again, that's us collectively thinking about how can we build each other up? Because if we don't, it's not having this grand aspiration of having a bunch of money and being rich, but we're talking about being wealthy to where our kids can eat off what we leave behind for them. And so maybe it's life insurance policies. Maybe it's something like that for our families. I don't know, but I think finances is one of the root causes that we need to have to save the Black family.
Yes. Shout out to you. And we did do a financial literacy episode where we kind of talked about that on our first season. So please go check that out on YouTube. I wanted to plug that because I agree. That is just as important. And I also think it is like you just shouted out what you said, how you support it. It's not that people want money or that people are money hungry. Sankofa, you said a little bit about this too. It's like when you're doing something, it's not always got to be about the money. But we know that it takes money to make things move and shake sometimes in our in this world. So it's like, how do we collectively support people who are already in those lanes, right, Trina? They in that lane. You know you can't do it, so why not go and support them and help them move their train a little bit faster? But I see you coming off the mic. Come on, Sankofa, come on.
Yeah, I want to say this to everybody before we get off. If you have a dream, shoot for it. I always hear my partners saying, man, I just want to be rich. And then 30 years later, you steady saying, I want to be rich. I be wanting to say, dummy, God told you this 30 years ago, just go do it. And that's what I did. I don't let nobody, I bought a raggedy church. They said I couldn't do it, but I did it. And, I heard everybody saying, I got hooked up with a millionaire. And I kept saying, I'm going to get my 501c3. I'm going to get it. And he said, bruh, let me just tell you this. How do you ask the same person for help who put you in that situation? He said, the only person that's going to help you with this building is God. And I started to GoFundMe. Somebody run off with that money. I ain't seen that lady in years, but I said, I ain't even going to let it sweat. It wasn't meant for me to have. But if all of us right now, I got a platform, I got my own Roku channel, I'm willing that you all can inbox me, give me your information, and we can have these segments and we can reach millions in Africa, Florida, Texas, China, wherever they got their TV, we can broadcast this whole thing. Like I told sister that Anna, when I told you, when I tell you, hey, let's work. I'm about to work you. I don't care. It's not even about the money because I ain't gonna take nothing with me anyway when I go. I'm gonna spend more dying than I have now. So but I ain't gonna have nobody saying no fish fries. I'm setting the mark to say this is what I'm trying to do. And I need help. I've been asking help almost 7 years, you all. But we gotta sit down and put together a plan. I'm just not one of them guys rolling the dice, take a chance, going directly to jail type thing. You can't play them games with me no more. I want to get hooked up with real people that's trying to teach my people something different. And we got to let that person create you. You know what I'm saying? Don't be selfish, and we just keep it going. Eventually, our great grandbaby's going to see a change.
Yeah.
And you all make sure you all reach out. I'm down for whatever. I like sitting in on everything because I tell you all, like the young lady said, she had a speech problem. I didn't learn how to talk until I was 12. And I always say this is my favorite speech. they would no longer send me to the kitchen when company arrived. This brother's here. They messed up when they gave me a platform with that TV. They wanted me to turn around and say, well, we're going to give you a list of Colgate, Geico. No, that ain't in my neighborhood. We need it. But what I want to see is I want to see Miss Mary or that got the store down the street. What are the homebodies at? I want to talk to people who ain't really gotten that. I don't want no millionaires on my channel. And they got mad. So I'm out for my people, you all. I'm going to be on Fire Stick in 90 days. They approved me because I had to be real humble on my Facebook page and they was watching me. But I rolled the dice and I got them. So you all can use my platform just as much as we using this right now. But guess what? It'll be ours. We can teach our youth whatever we want to teach. If we say something, come on at 7, let's get in front of that at 7 o'clock and make it happen. I support you, you support me. 1 teach 2, 2 teach 3, 4 can teach more. So I'm with it, you all. I'm a big little brothers here.
And let people know how to contact you, because I know someone else had asked that question. So how can someone, if they, especially about your plug for your Roku channel, how can they reach you?
My number is 314-41, and I don't know how to put all in the chat and all that, so somebody else gonna have to do it. I'm just getting off a beeper, you all, and just last month. So Charlie, you can put my contact in the chat.
I got it. Go ahead.
415-0997.
415-0097.
Yeah, my Facebook page is Sankofa St. Louis, but you got to inbox me to let me know who you is before I just add you, because I don't just add nobody. I had people getting on my thing, cussing me out, talking about I owed money from 1986. Click dismiss. So, my Roku is Sankofa Entertainment 314. It's free right now. We got a 3-month free trial, and we just trying to reach. That's all I'm trying to do. You all reach many as I can, and I'm here for you. I tell people I should have been dead in 1986, so I'm happy. It ain't about no money with me. I'm gonna get my bag regardless. So that's how you contact me. You all. I'm ready to work, you all. I see some good people on this panel, some good conversation. That this is what we need. This is what we need to be watching at 6 o'clock every day. Not
come on through. No, plug that. No, this should be viral right about now, but that's okay. We gonna let that. But this is how we know we have some work to do. Because
can you share this on my page, and then I can put it on my channel.
I got you. I'm gonna do all of that when we get off of here, but I got you. Let's go one by one, y'all. Last words, suggestions, tips, advice, anything that you want to offer up. And if you want to offer up how people can contact you, that's all freely for you too. If not, that's perfectly fine too. But advice, tips, anything to help move the Black family dynamics forward. And that's how we're going to end it out. Okay. One by one. Come on, Charlie. Sit up and come on. Tell us any advice, tips on how we can move the Black family forward and how people can reach you if you want to be reached.
I just really believe that, people should just walk away with what they heard today. We had a lot of people on this panel, a lot of different point of views. A lot of us agreed on a lot of different things. And I think that once you start looking at and picking out those things that apply to you, I think one of the biggest things, like in the business, as far as like community organizing and social policy, we don't properly assess things. So when we apply those things to how does it fit my family? How does it fit, this individual that I'm serving? I think we come off with better results. So my biggest suggestion or, advice would be, find out where the problem lies at, heal from it, move forward, take advice, have somebody else. I was just telling somebody or our group yesterday at work that, have that other person that checks you a little bit, that you can be open with and have those kind of conversations with where you're not being judged. But it opens the doorway for people to be able to say, hey, well, I see this, and you're respecting that. It's not a conflict. Well, no, I don't want to hear that. You don't really understand. I'm growing because I can understand. And you with me every day. I'm with Darren most of the time. And I can get that. You see what I'm saying? And it's not like it's a back and forth where, I got to be like, nah, that ain't right. it's not even for me really to respond to. It's something for me to comp on and continue on going wherever we're going, or continue to do whatever we're doing. So that's my biggest advice. If you ever want to reach me, my cell phone number is 314-527-9180. You're welcome to email me, inbox me, Charlie Gentry the third on Facebook. So, but I feel like that's the best advice that I can offer, because we had so much conversation today and so many good point of views today that I think somebody can grab something. And thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. And I agree with you. If you can pick out some that you have a gem, so many gems have been dropped. But yeah, pick out some and move forward. Miss Sandra, come on. Any advice, tips? I appreciate you. When I think about panels, y'all, when I think about putting people together in this space, I think about trying to be diverse in our community, because I believe that it's going to take every aspect. I ain't trying to leave out the Black man. I ain't trying to leave out the youth. I ain't trying to leave out the elder. Like, I don't even know what the wisdom. I want to call it the wisdom. I don't want to leave out none of that, because I believe we all have a part in the play to move not only the family, but the community forward. So shout out to you, Miss Sandra, for taking my invite and joining us. I really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And let me help you out. I'm not the elderly. I'm seasoned. Okay. I'm the seasoned. And what I get is freedom equals future. And as you guys, no, I won't say that, as we continue to grow toward the future, let us stop looking to see if we see what we did as a result. Because I think it's the key for, like he said, reach 1, reach 2, reach 3, 4 means more. If we're doing, like C said, and we stay in our lane and do our gift, eventually we'll see the seed that we sow, and we'll get the results that we're looking for. So freedom equals future. So if we're free to do that, we got it going. We may not see the results, but it's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yes, thank you. Miss Keeley, come on.
Let me first say I have thoroughly enjoyed this panel. I've learned a lot, and I would just kind of piggyback off something Trina said earlier. Healing is continuous, and I think this is the season for healing family systems. I think we definitely need to stop operating out of trauma manifested behaviors, and not only realize, but also walk in our power as a people and just do the work. You know, we can talk, we can have panels, but if we're not acting and doing the work, it doesn't make sense. So.
Yes, thank you, Miss Keeley. Sierra, come on, sis. Tell us, any advice, tips?
I got to do better at this. I'm literally sitting here like just all in. I didn't even really think. I think I'm going to take something that stuck with me based on what someone has said in this panel, and it's giving yourself permission. So I said a word every year, and I thought my word for this year was boundaries, but in February we've changed it and it's permission. So just, you know, I feel like the best way to feel comfortable in giving yourself permission, and I'm speaking from experience, is being vulnerable with the process along the way and committing to being a better you. Like knowing that every day is a chance to be better. If you're a reader, there's a book I would suggest known as Atomic Habits. It's by an author named James Clear. I love that book. It teaches you how to take small things and turn them into big changes. Something as simple as making your bed every day can have a huge impact on how productive you are throughout the rest of the day. And maybe that's not examples to translate, but it gives you those examples. So I guess I would just close in and say that nothing changes if nothing changes. So, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Martin, joining us from Hawaii. Whew, I'm jealous, but.
All right. Hey, thank you for allowing me to be on the platform. It's been a beautiful morning for me, just to learn about everything that's going on back home and just being able to be here with y'all. One thing I would say to the future or to the community of our generation is that freedom. Like, find your freedom. I think Malcolm X said that once a person places value on their freedom, there's nothing under the sun that they will not do to acquire it. So find out what your freedom is. For me, I'm an author and a podcaster. The book is called The Last to Finish. And you can reach me at, martinjali.com. And I'm all about, reading comprehension, reading literacy. I think all of our kids, they love our technology and cell phones. They love TVs and movies. But a lot of these TV shows we watch, a lot of these movies, they were first books at one point. And so I think if we get our kids into reading books, it's a great segue into just understanding how to voice their opinions, build up their vocabulary, and they can possibly find their freedom in it. And so I would say again, like, just find out what your why is, find out your purpose, and that can ultimately be actually your freedom. And that's all I got. Thank you again, Vanessa, Ivana, for allowing me to be on the platform. And thank all of y'all for, sharing y'all wisdom with me, because I learned a lot today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, Miss Trina, come on, take us out. What was your tip? Look, I forgot.
I don't know, but first, I also want to thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this conversation. You're part of just this amazing group of Black excellence. I just love us. And so I love just learning from within my village. I think, like it's already been said, there's so many different there's so many like nuggets of knowledge and just pearls of wisdom that have been dropped here today. There's so many things that have helped either reaffirm things that I was trying to think through but wasn't really processing, and vice versa, things that have been challenging how I have been thinking that I love even what Sierra just said, like nothing changes and nothing changes. So like I love all of this. I think just what I'm kind of trying to pull this all together in my mind around is, we have to be focused on healing at all different levels, individually, families, structures, communities, neighborhoods, and then systemically, policy levels. But we also really have to have just authentic communication, two-way communication across the generations, where we're all continuously learning from each other. Our elders learning from the youth, our youth learning from the elders, and those of us like me, those Gen Xers in between that always get forgotten and overlooked. Like, we need to be pulling from all things as well as sharing in both directions as well. So just continuous learning, continuous healing, continuous communication, and all of that really being rooted in love and respect, and unity, and Black liberation is ultimately our key. So I just want to wish everyone just peace, joy, and love for eternity. And thanks for having me again.
Well, I just want to thank all of you one by one. I appreciate everyone in their aspect to this conversation, everything that you brought to this conversation, to this panel. To all the viewers, to everybody that's tapping in, I appreciate you tapping in. Please make sure you like and you share, because again, we definitely need to make sure that we have these conversations and that they get to the people, right? And that's one thing that I'm really, really trying to push for, is like, how can we get these great conversations to the people? So, but keep tapping in, because again, I'm going to keep bringing these great conversations. We got August to August, and every first of the month, I'm bringing a great panel to the mic, and we're going to keep having these great conversations along with all the great other things that the Hood Talks podcast is bringing. So yeah, this is just the first. We got stuff rolling out the rest of the month. Every Thursday for the rest of the month, we're dropping something. So make sure you're liking us on Facebook. You're keeping up with us on YouTube and the podcast platforms, because we have our one-on-ones with the community members that goes strictly only to that platform. So yes, keep tapping in, y'all. I appreciate it. And on that note, we are out. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow us on all our social media. And you can find all of that information at www.thehood